Hi, everybody.
Hey, Kathy.
Can you see my picture? I can't see me. Oh,
Gotta click go video or whatever. There you are.
I have a face now. Yay!
Be careful what you cheer for.
Yeah, true. Yeah, true.
Hey, Dale, thanks for doing on that golf cart thing.
Yeah.
I'll get with Jeff and Denny next week. Jeff's going this week and see if we can do anything along the ditch there and get something going.
I don't know whose property it is. Is it falling in an easement or what? But it'd be a possibility.
Yeah. Dale, I'm going to ask you to display a flag tonight too, if you still got it.
I better do that. Now to say it. Gotta find it.
Hey, Sarah.
Yeah.
Quick question for you. I'm going to minimize my screen and look at an email. Now, you can still see me okay, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not be any different as far as what you can see, but I wanted to double check that. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Hello, Jim, Danny.
How you guys doing? Good.
Doing good.
Hey, Dave, while we're here, remember I told you that Kathy from over in Cooksville asked about the farmer's market. What she was wanting to know is how, if she wanted to bring stuff over to sell, how would she go about that?
She would need to contact Lynn, Lynne Norris, and I will send you her contact information.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. I will send it later. Right now, my email's kind of hung up.
Oh, yeah, no, that's no big deal.
Okay.
No, it's right behind me.
That Hello, Joe.
Evening.
Hi.
Hello, Mark.
Hi, how are you?
Doing good. Welcome.
Hey, Mark.
Hi, Kathy.
How are you this evening?
Oh, doing fine. Doing fine. How about you?
I'm pretty good. I got rain down this afternoon when I went out, but hey, how that is.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you were out and about, yeah, you definitely got wet today.
Kathy, that ordinance document looks like it has a bunch of typos too that I didn't catch when I looked at it the first time.
Oh, not a good thing. I didn't see any typos on it.
If you look in the table, it's got percent 50,000, and right above that, it's got period 50,000, like 50 cents kind of stuff. And then
I see what you're saying.
all the fee sides messed up too, because for the 10,000 to 50,000, it says then cost over 50. I think it's supposed to say cost over 10, unless I'm just misunderstanding it. And then actually the fifth one has cost over 10. I think that should be cost over 50. You see what I'm saying on the right-hand side columns?
Yeah, this one should, they got them backwards.
Yeah. It's obvious what it's meant to be, so I think I just read over it the first time.
That is very possible. Yeah, I've looked at that chart. I cannot tell you how many times.
I was just right the first time you look, and then somebody fat fingers it later, and you never really look at it again because you thought you already did.
Yeah, because I printed it out off of an Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah, all the dollars are there and the commas and the stuff that actually makes it look good.
Evening, Richard. Hello, Doug.
Hello, Dave. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Kathy, I fixed those typos. I just sent you a corrected one.
Oh.
I copied Allison for the village's record. Sorry about that.
That's okay. I was gonna ask you about that anyway, so. I will log in again. I will forward this email to all the trustees.
All right. I think I have 7 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. I would ask Dale to display the flag, and then I will ask everybody to please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Derek, can you tell if we have any guests?
I show that there are 6 people watching.
Oh, great. I want to welcome all of our guests that are watching tonight. I'm sure you'll enjoy our meeting. You do have an opportunity to ask questions during our meeting, and if you have questions, please send them to Sarah. In about 15-20 minutes, we'll be to the citizens hearing portion of our meeting, and the questions need to be to Sarah before then. So please start sending your information to Sarah now. All right, next item on our agenda is roll call. Allison?
Dave Brutlog,
Here.
Joe Boyd,
Here.
Kathy Brooks, Jim Campbell,
Here.
Bill Morris.
Here. All right, our next item is our consent agenda items. It's the approval of the open minutes from our last meeting and approval of financial statements and the payment of bills for August. First, I'd like to compliment Allison on all the details she's getting in the minutes. They are really helpful, and we really appreciate it, Allison, so thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay, did anybody have any questions on the minutes? I think I gave Allison 2 minor changes. One was change the name Dale to Dave at one point. And there was also a change on the Build Illinois money. The second payment and first payment were both about $20,000. So our total is around $40,000 instead of just the second payment being $40,000. So I think those corrections are going to be in the final copy of the minutes. Does anybody on any of the trustees have any questions for Allison or Sarah?
No.
If not, do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, any additional discussion? If not, Allison, please call roll.
Joe Boyd,
Yes.
Kathy Brooks,
Yes.
Jim Campbell,
Yes.
Bill Morris.
Yes.
Consent agenda is approved. Next on the agenda is the reports from me. I think everyone is pretty much aware that Pat O'Grady has resigned. We want to thank Pat for all of his years of service on the board. I think Pat stepped up when we were having a real hard time getting trustees, and he filled in and did the job for us. Bill, do you know how long Pat was on the board?
This is his second term, so I'm sure this is close to 8 years.
Almost 8 years. So Pat, I don't know if you're listening, but thanks for doing a great job for us and stepping up when we really needed it. So we do have 2 openings on the board now, and tonight I would like to move and fill one of those openings, and I'm going to nominate Mark Cotty to be one of our new trustees. Most of you know Mark. Mark has experience as both a trustee for the Village of Hudson and as mayor for the Village of Hudson, and was doing a great job and took a job at the state's attorney's office, and because of a potential conflict of interest, he had to resign his position here in Hudson. But I know Mark was doing a great job for Hudson when he was mayor and trustee. So do any of the board members have any questions for Mark? If not, I would like to nominate Mark, and I guess, Pat, we need a motion for that, don't we? Would one of the trustees make a motion to appoint Mark Cotty to the board?
I'll make the motion to appoint Mark Cotty to the board.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, so we have a motion and second to add Mark Cotty to our board. Any final discussion? If not, Allison, please do a roll call.
Joe Boyd,
Yes.
Kathy Brooks,
Yes.
Jim Campbell,
Yes.
Bill Morris.
Abstain?
So then do I call for Dave also?
Yes.
Okay, Dave Britlog.
Yes. So we have a majority. So Mark, welcome to the board. We thank you a lot for stepping up and joining our board now. And we look forward to working with you. I did send Mark agenda for tonight and some of the ordinances we will be looking at. So Mark has a little background on what we're going to be doing tonight. So on the status of our second opening, I've been working with somebody who is a trustee for another taxing body, and she would like to keep her current position and also join the board, and that's not possible. We have a definite conflict of interest based on advice we've heard from different attorneys. So she is still considering what to do, and she will give us a decision in the next couple days. So I certainly hope she will continue to look at us. She's doing a great job where she is, and I can understand why she might want to stay with the library too. So we'll communicate that to the board as soon as we get an answer. So next item was the revenue review. Last month, I think our sales tax was way behind, and that got caught up. And overall, right now, we're only about 6,000, I think, less revenue this year than last year. So overall, our revenue streams are still in pretty good shape, surprisingly. I would have thought by now we would have had a noticeable decrease in sales tax revenue and possibly income tax revenue. But so far, surprisingly, things are in good shape. So we'll continue to monitor that and stay on top of that. So next item was COVID-19 status. I think if you've had a TV on or radio on, you're aware that McLean County COVID-19 counts have gone a little over the edge here the last 2 or 3 weeks since ISU started back up. There have been a lot of cases on ISU campus. They're reporting extremely high counts. And I know Mayor Coos from Normal has put in steps to try and slow down the growth of COVID-19 in Normal. We have not done anything addition in Hudson other than what Governor Pritzker has already put in place for the entire state. The last time I checked a couple days ago, the zip code count for 61748 was still at 14 people. So we're not seeing a lot in 61748. We are seeing some. So everybody needs to keep their guard up and keep their masks on. As far as our next month's meeting go, I still want to try and meet in person, get the TIF group out to do their presentation, because I think we'll have some good questions for the TIF group. So I sent out an email a while back about where we might be able to meet, and the library is a beautiful room to meet in, but it's kind of cramped in there. We just don't have very much space. The town hall has the space, but it has a lot of acoustic issues. The fire department has a great meeting room, but their trustees meet at 6 o'clock, an hour before we meet. They're not always done. So that is sometimes a conflict. I would like to get internet presence at our meetings, which we have at the library and at the fire department. We don't have it at the town hall. So think about where we want to meet next year. If we want to try and meet at the fire department, I'll work with the trustees and see if we can work something out there to use the conference room for our meetings. So It's one of the few places in town where we could actually meet and have everybody sit 6 feet apart and maintain the social distancing we need. You know, the library, you just can't do it there. Town hall, we can do it, but there's no internet, and acoustics are a little bit not near as good at the town hall. So think about where we want to have our meetings for next year. The sexual harassment class, I don't know if any of you have taken it. I have not gotten it done yet. When you get it done, please let Sarah know. Sarah's told me that all of our full-time employees have taken it, and they are, completed it already. I don't know how many of the trustees have. I'll admit I haven't, but try and get it done before our next meeting in October. I think the state mandate is to get it done by the end of the year. Is that right, Sarah?
Yeah, that's correct. We need to do it annually.
Dave, I got a question on that. I tried to get into it a couple times, and it led me to like 10,000 different choices of things to take.
I can help you with that, Jim.
Okay.
Yeah, not a problem. I'll shoot you an email with some directions to kind of help you get through that if you need it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
So if anybody else experiences that, send that, let Sarah know, and she'll send you a link. Sarah, can you send that to Mark?
Yeah, sure.
Need to be included with that.
Sure.
So, Mark, sexual harassment training every year now is mandatory from the state. So we're just can't wait to get started on that. So,
Okay.
and then let Sarah know when you're done. I did get asked about fall garage sales. I believe we usually have it the second weekend in September, and I said the village has got no problems with doing it. If people are going to have one or attend one, please make sure you wear your mask. Right now, the requirements from the state would require you to wear a mask inside when you can't social distance, and the best bet is to just keep your mask on if you're garage sailing or having one. Okay, next item on the agenda, we'll discuss for a few minutes. The CURE program is an offshoot of the federal government CARES program. The CARES program from the federal government allocated so much money for every municipality in the state of Illinois as well as nationwide. And the state of Illinois government redirected some of that money into a holdings pot until we submit expenses that are CARE related and reclaim some of that money. The holding pot for Hudson is $75,000. And right now we are at about $4,000 of expenses to submit. And we've talked about it at some of the mayor meetings that I've gone to, and the ability to submit expenses just opened up the end of August. So Sarah's got our first group of bills in being reviewed. One thing we did learn is that we have to have an ordinance, this CARES ordinance, approved by October 1st if we want to be able to claim the money. Now, if you looked at the ordinance and read it, it doesn't say a lot other than we are going to participate in the CARES program. So in a minute, I'm going to ask for a motion and a second to pass the CARES ordinance, but Pat had some comments about the CARES ordinance that he's seen some of the other towns are doing. So Pat, would you please comment?
Yeah, thank you. Initially when kind of public information spread about this money, most communities said, we probably don't have much, and we'll submit what we have, and tough. Wish there was a way we could get the rest of this money. The narrative has progressed, and some of that's through organizations like the Municipal League, but the narrative that is kind of spreading now is find ways to spend that money because it's free money and you won't see it if you don't spend it. So it's use it or lose it. And so the Municipal League, for example, is telling communities, you have a duty to find a way to use this money because if you don't, you won't get it back. So be creative. So some ideas that I've seen communities consider, and that in my opinion falls within the scope of the act, is upgrading computers. I don't know how new your computers are, but the CARES money can be used for making your computers easier for remote work. So if you don't have laptops, for every employee needs a computer, and if you're replacing computers that would otherwise need to be replaced, why not take the free money to upgrade your computers instead of paying for it out of your general fund 2 years from now, for example? Remote monitoring software for water infrastructure, for example. Some communities don't have anything that would allow your employees the ability to work either more social distantly or work remotely. Making those things easier qualifies as an expense. Also qualifying as an expense is kind of communication infrastructure for you to share public health messages. Some ideas I've seen discussed, or I've had and suggest to other communities, is a community bulletin board or some digital marquee in town where you can post COVID-related information now, but after the pandemic is over, you can also post when garage sale day is, or about important community events that are coming up, when the pancake and sausage supper is its fire department or whatever. And there are a number of other ways that I think this money can be committed within the scope of the program that provides both improvements in your preparedness for this pandemic or future pandemics, but also provides a benefit to the village that lasts after this is all over. So that's kind of the lens I'm suggesting communities take, is the ordinance recommended by the municipal league. Do that, send in your certification, but have some conversations about how you can access remaining $70,000 or $75,000 of your money and spend it in a way that's for the good of the community, both now and in the future, instead of missing out on free money, essentially. So there are certain requirements and tethers under the program, and I'd be happy to share some more information with you on that, or be a part of providing you some ideas on beyond what I've already talked about, or kind of vetting ideas that you guys may come up with. But by and large, the expenses, if they make remote work easier, if they aid in public health communication, you're getting personal protective equipment, if you're getting cleaning supplies, even I think things like keyless entry for municipal buildings, or if you don't have those handicap accessible doors where you can bump the button and the door opens, I think you can justify that. So I think with a creative lens, understanding again that this money is money you won't see unless you spend it, I think you can probably find some ways to spend most of the money. The other thing to keep in mind is this initial allocation, you can spend more than that and submit more than that. So if you happen to find, like, we have a project at Village Hall where we could do some remodeling and space employees out better and give people their own cubicles or spaces that are separated better, and it's going to cost more than $75,000 or $79,000 or whatever your allocation is, you can actually request more. And there's a second round where they give out the money that other communities didn't spend next spring. So, I think it's a beneficial program, and if you decide not to take advantage of it, certainly your prerogative, but I wanted to at least pass along the discussion I'm a part of in other places and in organizations statewide that are focusing on creativity as the solution here.
Pat, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you mentioned it or not, but is that something that we could use money to purchase, maybe like a wireless sound system, if we're going to look at, say, the firehouse, or say we use the police station garage to space people and put in a sound system for us, instead of having, like at the firehouse now, they have a microphone, but it's not cordless. You think that's something we could purchase with that?
Absolutely. I think I think that's absolutely something you can purchase with it.
Okay. Dave, that might be something we'd want to look at.
In addition, though, you need chairs and stuff to set up in there. So you're going to get some chairs and tables for meetings.
Right. And that we could probably use that money for chairs and tables too, right?
Yep. And as a part of kind of the review process, it's suggested by this company Crow, who's been contracted by the state to kind of review paperwork, that you give some narrative as to the connection between the expense and COVID. So the justification there, as we all know, is we don't have a present meeting space with sufficient acoustics that allows for social distancing for members of the public who are present, and that allows for effective, streaming if we choose to stream it. And so these expenses were to equip a meeting space that accommodates social distancing. And I think that'd be approved any day and fits well within the program guidelines.
Pat, thank you very much for those suggestions. It goes a lot further than what I was told in the CARE seminars that I attended. So I think this money that was allocated for everybody, Cook County got theirs, the collar counties around Cook County got their allotment, and nobody else in downstate Illinois did. We all have to come up with ways to spend this money so we can get reimbursed for it. So does anybody on the board know anyone with good audio experience that would be a good resource we could work with to research an audio sound system?
Dave, I do know that Nicholas, who's been helping us with IT, he was part of getting Normal set up with a sound system. So I don't know if he's somebody we might want to reach out to and see if he has any suggestions for their meeting. He did it for Normal for their meetings.
Yeah, I just want to reach out to see if we got any experts, some resources we can use to do our research for this. So that'll be one person I'll put down here. We got good ideas from Phil on the wireless PA and chairs and tables, so we can do a meeting in the fire department. If any of you trustees or employees come up with other good ideas, like updating PCs, let me know, and we'll start getting a list together and start doing this. And I'd much rather it came out of the potential CARES money than out of our budget in 2 years from now for new PCs. So let's work on that. And we have until the December 30th to spend the money to make our purchases. And then until, I think it's January 31st to get all the documentation sent in. So we have a little bit of time yet, but it'll be here before we know it. So we want to start moving on this. Whichever trustee comes up with the best way to spend the money, I'll buy him a dinner. So, all right.
Bill's idea is great. Audio and video set up for the primary village board meetings.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
All right, so I sent out the CARES ordinance. Were there any questions on it? If not, I will entertain a motion from one of the trustees to make a motion to pass the CARES ordinance.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, we have a motion from Jim. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second from Kathy. Any final questions or discussion on the CARES ordinance?
That ordinance number is 1344.
1344.
I would like Pat McGrath, if you have a electronic file that explains this in more detail, if you could send that to the board members.
Yeah, there's a lot of different sources I've pulled from. I can share a couple different things, and I'll get that to you. And then if you have questions or if it's not quite what you're expecting, let me know. There's different places. One of the good sources for some information is the actual certification form that the ordinance references. But yeah, I'll get you some general information and we'll go from there.
Yeah, because this is just a bare bones ordinance saying basically that we're going to participate. But the detail I'm very confused on, because I like the idea of spending the money on the audio and video system, chairs for setting up meetings following whatever the CDC guidelines are. But it's like, I know there's other things, as Dave was saying, but I don't have the information.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, Dave. I understood from trade emails prior, Dave, that we've not yet received the Village of Hudson specific certification form at this point in time. Is that right?
Sarah?
We did get the certification number. I emailed them and they gave it back to me. They emailed it back to me.
And there's a certification form that's about 8 pages.
Yeah, we don't have that yet.
Okay. That is probably as good a condensed summary of what the rules are. And I have that for a couple other communities, so I'll scrub names off it and then I'll pass it along to you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Kathy, there's also on the Illinois DCEO, the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity website. There's a lot of information about the CARES program out there. You can just Google DCEO and CARES, and it'll link you to some of the different state documents on it. So you can get information on it there too.
Okay, the information that I did look at at the Illinois Municipal League was pretty scarce in my mind. The detail wasn't there or what I was looking for apparently.
And the details should be from the state and from this company called Crow that's administering it.
Okay.
So we have a motion and a second to pass ordinance 1344, CARES ordinance. Do we have any other questions or discussion on it? If not, Allison, please do roll call.
Joe Boyd,
Yes.
Kathy Brooks,
Yes.
Jim Campbell,
Yes.
Bill Morris,
Yes.
Mark Cotty.
Yes.
Then I do have one question, Dave or Pat, on the ordinance. It asks, it should be in full force and effect on to fill in the date. Do I just put tomorrow or do I put today?
You can put today's date. There's no penalty, so it can be immediately effective.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Pat, thanks for your good information on that. I really appreciate it. Okay, next item on the agenda, the 5-year plan. Richard and Doug, I want to thank you both for joining us tonight. I don't know who's in on the iPhone. Sarah, can you tell who that is?
I cannot.
Would the person on the iPhone please identify yourself?
Alan Apple.
Okay, thanks, Alan. All right, so again, now that all three of you are on, I want to thank you guys for all the work and hard effort, the great effort you put in on the 5-year plan for Hudson. Richard introduced it to us at our last meeting, and the trustees have all had time to study it and digest it, and all except for Mark. Mark just got it yesterday, so before we, I guess I'm going to start by asking the trustees for comments or questions or thoughts they have on it.
Like I said, as I expressed in the last meeting, I think it's a great plan. I think it's broken down well. I think it'll be easy not to have things slide off into the back burner.
Yes. Any other trustees, you got thoughts? Think it's a good plan? You think it needs some modifications? What do you think?
Seems good.
Okay.
Dave, from my reading of it, I think it's a great plan. Gives you somewhere to shoot for. I agree with Kathy. It keeps you on task. These are the things that are important. Won't slide off the table, and we can really focus on these. And I think it could be a great selling point to the people in the community. This is our plan for 5 years, and we can kind of explain to them by using this document what we plan on doing during these 5 years.
All right, Richard or Doug or Alan, did you guys want to make any additional comments?
This is Richard. The only thing I have is just some thoughts around. So we had this came off of our master list per se of a lot of different items. If this gets approved, the thought was we have these meetings every couple months, so we will get together and have some discussion. But we're going to keep on looking down that list and make a 10-year type plan, whatever, 15 years, whatever we see going forward. And then that gives us also like an on-deck list, right? So as number 1, 2, 3, whatever get accomplished, then you'll be able to go into the next list to pull something off if that comes up, or if we see something on that other list that needs to be pulled up because it's more important, then it'll be out there as well. But it'll be like a list B, more of a 10-year type, 12-year, 15, whatever type thing. So that's our plan from like the planning commission was to continue these every other month meetings, try to get as many people from the public to come to these meetings and have some discussions. And then we'll come back to the board with, with the follow-on to the extended years out. Just the same reason this is get it documented, get it out there. What are those things that we see long-term that we want to hit on, and then have some discussion with the board to review that and see where they're at that point as well, as far as on those items.
Okay, I think it's a great plan too. I really appreciate you guys doing this and giving us a direction to work for here. So I think I would like to see the board formally adopt this as our 5-year plan. So I would like to see one of the trustees make a motion to adopt this as our 5-year plan.
I'll make the motion to adopt this as our 5-year plan, to be updated as necessary.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to adopt our 5-year plan for the Village of Hudson. Are there any additional questions or discussion? Allison, please do roll call.
Joe Boyd,
Yes.
Kathy Brooks,
Yes.
Jim Campbell,
Yes.
Bill Morris,
Yes.
Mark Cotty.
Yes.
Allison, is that a resolution? Is that considered, or Pat, is that considered a resolution?
I don't know.
Only if you have a written resolution ready. There are some cases, especially for action for which statute doesn't mandate a particular form. And in small communities, we make an action without a written resolution.
Okay, so just adopting it as a resolution for the village is fine. Okay. Well, I didn't know if I should get a resolution number or not.
Okay.
Thanks for checking.
All right. So Richard, when you get time, will you please get a final copy to Sarah?
Yeah, I will. I'll do that. And I just want to thank Maury and Doug and Alan. It was a real team effort here. We really had some great discussions amongst ourselves, and with the limited people that showed up from the village, it was kind of really on that commission to do that. So kudos to those guys for really having some candid discussions and talking through this, because I think it turned out to be a really good document as well. And it was pretty much a group effort. I just typed it up. So I'll get a copy out right away.
Fantastic, because we will be posting it on our website for the village to see. So
cool.
Great job. Thank you so much, Planning Commission. You did great. All right, back to the agenda. Just so everyone's aware of it, the company that did our codifying for our ordinances called Sterling, they've been replaced. The new company is American Legal Publishing Corporation. Our website does link to the new web pages. They look a little different. I'm sure the content is the same, but Sterling is gone and we have a different company now.
One thing just to keep in mind on American Legal, I have several communities who use them. I think you'll find that their costs are substantially more than Sterling's were. So, you know, I'm not saying don't use them, but there are alternatives. So you may want to keep a feel for what your update costs are. And there's another company called MuniCode, and there are others, and I'm not pushing one over the other, but I know at some of the meetings I go to that American Legal isn't always popular for their updates costs. So just for what it's worth, bell in the back of your mind to keep tabs on.
Pat, would you send me a list of those alternate codifiers, I guess?
I can send you the ones I know about. It may not be, obviously won't be all inclusive, but I'll send you the ones I'm aware of.
That's fine, yeah, because we basically found out about the change in codifiers via an email from Sterling saying, we've turned everything over to them.
Yeah, understand. Yep, I'll send it to you.
Sarah, do you have a way to relate the bill that we get to the number of ordinances that we turned in to be codified?
I do, yeah, I can look into that.
If you would kind of track that for the next couple months, maybe we can figure out how much more the bill is going to be from American.
Sure.
That'll be helpful. Thank you. All right, next item for an ordinance for declaring surplus property. Phil, would you like to talk about this, or do you want to do this under your streets? Phil, you're muted.
No, I'll tell you what I know is that I guess any surplus property we have to have the ordinance passed. So Pat's given us the blank ordinance. Now we can just fill in the blanks. He's filled in the blanks for us, but Denny gave him the information on the truck that Donnie Lloyd has purchased from us. So we can now move on with that, and anything else we want to sell, we can, I guess, lump things together and sell them by ordinance. And I guess that gives us tabs on where stuff went. So that's all I know. And I don't know what else I can say about it. Pat, if you got anything to express further.
Hope you did perfect.
Yeah, okay.
Pat, Dale Sparks, just real quick question. Is there a value to where the ordinance has to be in effect, or is it everything?
It's everything.
Okay.
Pat, we have some old computer screen monitors that are good for recycling. You know, do we have to list those up for bid before we recycle them?
No, you're never required to go up for bid on a resale of personal property. If you have stuff that you're throwing away or like electronics recycling, certainly don't have to put if you're, in my view, if they reach the end of their useful life and you're taking them to electronics recycling in lieu of throwing them away, I don't feel you need an ordinance for that. Now, if you have a bucket to a 30-year-old backhoe and you're going to scrap that, we should probably get an ordinance for that. But recycling, electronics recycling like that, I don't even think you need to include that in the ordinance. But
okay, thanks. Okay, Phil, you want to make a motion for that ordinance?
Yes, I'll make a motion to authorize the ordinance for sale of personal property.
Okay, what would the ordinance number be, Sarah?
I don't know.
It's 1345.
1345, okay. And the specific ordinance we're passing this time, the only item on it is the salt truck. Is that correct?
As far as I know at this time.
Yeah.
yes, that's correct.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and second for the ordinance to sell excess property, which would be our salt truck. Is there any questions or discussion? Not, Allison, roll call.
Joe Boyd,
Yes.
Kathy Brooks,
Yes.
Jim Campbell,
Yes.
Bill Morris,
Yes.
Mark Cotty.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Phil. Next item on the agenda, an ordinance establishing the compensation for the village clerk. I want to thank Pat McGrath for this. Pat realized that we had never set the clerk's salary in an ordinance, and since the clerk is an elected position, just like the trustees and the mayor, it's supposed to be in an ordinance. So Pat set up an ordinance for us, and that ordinance is what we sent out to everybody. Did anybody have any questions or comments on the ordinance setting the clerk's salary? Okay, the ordinance number for that would be, is it 1346?
Yep.
Thanks, Allison. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion for the ordinance for the compensation for the village clerk.
I make a motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, you got your choice, Allison, Jim or Pat, or no, Jim or Phil. So, all right, any final questions or discussion on ordinance 1346? If not, Allison, roll call.
Joe Boyd,
Yes.
Kathy Brooks,
Yes.
Jim Campbell,
Yes.
Bill Morris,
Yes.
Mark Cotty.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Pat, for putting that together. And we'll finally have that correct in our records. So I put down our garbage contract discussion. I know there were questions on when that contract would come up. And Sarah checked on that and found out it's October of next year. And so I'm going to ask the HR trustee, whoever takes over HR, to bring that up so we can get started with that about a year ahead of time. Make sure we have plenty of time to discuss it and don't miss that bidding process. So I have not been involved with that before, so I don't know what all the steps are to get this bid out there, but we'll find out as we go here. Next on the agenda, the water and public property report from Jeff Waller. Jeff is on vacation this week. Does anybody have anything that Jeff passed on to them for this?
Yeah, Denny sent me the numbers. If you want to know the numbers, just 4 million gallons of water, which is about 130,000 a day. And Jeff said he has lead testing to do in September. He'll do it when he gets back. But other than that, there's nothing going on for him.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. Any questions for Joe? If not, we'll move on to street and zoning. Denny Engel.
I'd like to thank Phil and Dave for volunteering to help me and Jeff on a project we had last week. Appreciate you guys' help with that. Monday, I took Jeff's service truck up to Linco to get the snowplow, the new snowplow that we had purchased, put on that. So not trying to rush the snowfall at all in that situation. Dollar General is now underway. Today they started tearing down the house and the garage and moving some dirt around. That's kept me very busy. So it's good to see that's underway now. Had a lot of storm damage. The limb pickup, we'll keep doing that for September and October. And the roofs. I don't know who is busier, me, Sarah, or Carol, keeping all the roofs going. I think I had 7 or 8 more today. So there's a lot of that going on. So anyway, trying to keep that under control, and everything else I think is good.
Anybody have any questions for Denny?
Thank you, Danny.
No problem.
All right, next is our village marshal, Dale Sparks. Dale, you have anything for us?
Not a whole lot going on. Currently, we have a few solicitors starting to come in, and some of the citizens are making note on what's happened, but they're not calling the police department. I dealt with one of them yesterday, let them know that we are not issuing solicitor permits currently due to COVID. So we'll keep an eye on that. And again, if anybody listening or whatever, call us, put it on Facebook. We may not see it for hours. You call us when they're there, we'll check into it as soon as we can. The squad car, we updated Tom Follick's squad car. We put a digital printer in it. So traffic tickets will now be printed. Well, we're in training right now, but eventually be printed in the car, handed to the drivers, and eventually will automatically go into the county system once we get fully established. That was paid for with money from the courts that when they give us e-citation money. So we saved that and we bought that. So that's a step forward into the future. We're moving along. So as far as criminal activity, nothing major. There's been some stuff in the parks, as we all know. But other than that, it's been fairly quiet.
Great. Anybody have any questions for Dale?
No.
All right. Next, Civil Defense Director Jeff Thomas. I know Jeff is at the fire trustee meeting tonight. I know the sirens, 2 of the sirens went off today. I don't know if the siren by the firehouse went off or not. But I know the one, I think on the south end didn't work last month. I know it was working today. So I think the sirens are in good shape, so. All right, now next on the agenda is the citizens hearing. Sarah, has anybody sent you any questions?
Yeah, I have one comment. It looks like here from Jeff Babe. He says the Hudson Lions Club, Hudson Women's Club, and others are looking at doing some alternative activities for Halloween this year. Items being considered include a virtual costume and pumpkin decorating contest, drive-by trick-or-treating, volunteers would deliver treat bags to participants, and a trunk and treat. None of these are set in stone at this point, but being bantered around with the variety of options and with the fact the mask guidelines mentioned for the fall garage sales is it to be assumed that efforts being organized for Halloween address COVID guidelines. Additionally, does the village want to keep abreast of any efforts communicating with Dale and or any other members of the village?
Thank you, Jeff. Yes, I think the village would like to be aware of anything going on. I'm sure Dale, from a police perspective, would like to know what's going on. I don't think there's been anything specifically issued from the state as far as trick or treat hours go, or restrictions or anything like that. I don't anticipate that the state is going to have any restrictions on Halloween, but it's kind of early to be sure, but we would like to stay aware of it. And my compliments and my thanks to the groups that are looking at trying to put together something for Halloween. Last year, and Danny, you kind of brought this on. You're the one that's brought up the snowplow. Last year, Halloween activities got snowed out. And so, you know, it'd be good if something can be put together for the kids for Halloween. So we do ask Jeff that you can just try and keep us abreast.
Hey, Dave, could I add one more thing?
Yeah.
I received a call today. The Boy Scouts are going to go door to door, flyers. We waived the door hangers for them to advertise their breakfast that's coming. So they're not going to be knocking on doors. They're just going to be putting hand flyers on the doors in the next 2 weeks. So if you get one on your door, it's about the Boy Scout pancake breakfast. And we're going to overlook that, the flyers, just because of COVID.
And I know the Boy Scouts, I've heard they are planning a drive-through breakfast where there would be no seating. Everybody would just, you know, place their order and take their order home. And I believe the fire department is planning something similar. I don't know if it's finalized yet, but theirs is also going to be likely be a drive-through environment where there will be no seating at the fire station. You know, people will make breakfast home. So we hope everyone continues to support the Scouts and the fire department. They're great organizations and they do a lot for the community. So take those Scout flyers and be sure to try and support the Scouts through their breakfast. It's one of the few fundraisers they have. So, Sarah, was there anything else from anybody?
Nope, that's it.
Did I answer all of Jeff's questions?
I believe so.
Okay, I wanted to make sure. And Jeff never gets wordy at all, so I just wanted to make sure. Sorry, Jeff. All right, next we have the reports of standing committees. First we have finance, budget, contracts. That position is going to be vacant because Mark will be taking over the police position. From my point, we don't really have anything to bring up tonight under that. So we'll move on to the street department. Trustee Phil.
I really have nothing major to report other than the street department, I feel, has done a fantastic job along with Jeff during the storms we had in the past couple of months with branches down, the coordination of the volunteers, or not, well, volunteers and our part-time people coming in to drive trucks, etc., pick up branches with Denny and Jeff. I think the new truck's working out fantastic. So I think we've expedited that process, and I think Denny's got it down to a fine science. So I pat Denny and Jeff and all the employees on the back for their accomplishments.
I will second that. I've heard some real good comments from citizens, Denny, on the work you guys are getting done and how quick you're getting everything cleaned up. So thanks for a great job.
Yeah.
All right, ordinance and zoning, Kathy.
Okay. First is the ordinance for the building fees, Chapter 1, Title 8, and Chapter 3, Title 9. I forwarded an updated one correcting those miscellaneous typos. Wherever the heck I put it. There it is. So other than that, is there any questions pertaining to this or anything anybody else sees that needs to be changed or have they have a question on or anything in that order?
I have some questions about penalties, I guess. I mean, it says that, you know, any penalties the homeowner and the contractor are both liable for. Is that true?
I believe so, yes.
And then, you know, from that, I mean, we get into what would happen if, like, you know, some contractor came into town and, you know, started working on 3 different fences. Is the third homeowner going to get hit with this 50X fee? I mean, that seems really.
No, it's based on the individual property. If the contractor came in, he started doing 3 different jobs. You get permits for any of them.
Mm-hmm.
Each one would be a first time no permit.
Okay.
The homeowner can come up and get the permit without the contractor's input, I guess you'd say. They can come up and say, okay, I'm having a fence built, I need a permit, and the contractor doesn't have to get it. But usually the contractor is the one who gets it.
Okay.
But like I said, each one would be a first time.
Okay, so it's like per property or something then. I mean, so to hit this 50X multiplier, you'd have to do 3 things on one property.
Yes.
I don't see any time limit on that either. Is that like in a year or, you know, I mean, over 5 years, somebody doesn't know that they need a permit for something?
Well, the thing is, once they are, caught not getting a permit,
Mm-hmm.
they then know they need a permit.
Some stuff you need a permit for, though. I don't know. I'm just ignorant of that, I guess. I mean, I didn't even know you needed a permit to do a roof. You got to get a roofing contractor, but then you need a permit too, I guess. Maybe
Yes.
everybody knows that. I don't know.
Kathy, the way you explained it is different than how I understood it. I thought that for the homeowner, it would be a first-time thing. But if we have the same contractor continually starting work without getting permits, that the contractor would be the one to see the 10 times and the 50 times charges.
Right. Because if it's the same contract,
Knows better, and he continues to ignore our ordinances, that's when we got to get his attention. Is that, it wouldn't matter if the contractor was on the second or third or fourth property. As long as he did not get the permit, he was to be the one to face the additional fine once he knew that.
Well, the ordinance actually says that the homeowner, also liable for that fine. I mean,
resident or contractor. But the thing is, once a resident knows that, they're going to check. They're going to make a phone call. Do I need a permit for this? Whereas the contractor should assume he needs a permit because he's a contractor. And the problem there is that it may not be as clear as it should be because it says resident or contractor. So the contractor is sort of independent.
I just don't want to get in a situation where the homeowner gets a 50x bill. I mean, because multiplying by 50 is pretty big.
No.
We have some contractor come in that does three things, and the third person, the homeowner, is liable for a 50x fee. That would
It's the contractor that is really the first point of contact to go after that's the offender. But ultimately, my understanding of it is the project was done on that property. So any out of compliance structure or project that was done, ultimately will fall on the homeowner. But as far as the penalties for the permit would be the contractor when it comes to the second, third, et cetera, offense.
So we do have problems presently with contractors who essentially deliberately disregard our permits ordinance, or by now Wayne should know better. And as a matter of practice, when the rubber meets the road, our first recourse is pursuit of the contractor. In fact, Denny and I have spoken recently about a couple projects presently that fall within the category of work done without a permit. And we've talked about the extent of recourse presently available. And obviously the preference on the village side is not to bring the homeowner into it. There may be situations where the homeowner is pursued. And if you're uncomfortable with, the punitive effect of a multiple event violation, getting the homeowner, I can certainly revise the ordinance. Pardon me.
My concern is just multiplying by 50 is pretty huge. I mean, if we got a $100 fee and the homeowner thinks the contractor's doing what he's supposed to, and this is his third job and he didn't, I just don't know that we want to bill the homeowner $5,000 as a penalty. I mean, as long as we're not going to go after the homeowner for it, I guess it's fine. But the ordinance actually says they're both liable for it.
Well, and again, it's subject to your guys' direction, hasn't been adopted yet. Part of the premise of making the homeowner responsible is, one, either the homeowner or the contractor can get the permits, and two, fundamentally, the homeowner is accountable for the contractor they select to bring into the village. So that was, as the draft of the ordinance coordinating with, Kathy, the wording here is mine, and that was the premise behind that language. So
Joe, not to interrupt you, Pat, but right now we have, if you're caught without a permit, there's an additional $100 we reserve the right to add on to the permit. So I use my discretion. So as you, the homeowner, as you just stated, storm damage, roof permit, et cetera, you didn't realize that. I very much understand that. And catch you in the middle of act with your friends putting the roof on the weekend, no big deal. I inform you of that. It's the standard permit fee. We move on. But when Joe Boyd Roofing comes in, and first time they come in, they don't know that. I explain that to them. But now when Joe Boyd Roofing comes in the second time, hey, I've already explained this to you. Now it's when the penalties start accruing. So it's the same way with the kind of the homeowner. Today you get a fence, you're the homeowner, you didn't know that. I explained that to you, and that, hey, I always tell them if you're going to get a pool, a deck, whatever, always just call first, and be happy to tell you what direction you need to go.
Okay, my question now is for Pat or Kathy. Can the ordinance be changed so that the 10X and 50X only applies to builders or contractors?
No, you don't want to do that.
I mean, I can word the ordinance the way you would like. You know, the couple issues that are present is that it would provide a way to circumvent or permitting by the contractor entering into a contract with the homeowner that says the homeowner's responsible for attaining all permits. So it would be somewhat unusual to excuse a homeowner entirely for a lack of attaining a permit. But if, you know, that certainly, it's not impermissible to do it that way, and I can adjust that wording if that's the will of the board.
Well, how about something like maybe the homeowner would be 2X and the contractor would be 10X? And then for the third time, the homeowner would be 3X and the contractor 50X? I understand Joe's concern about possibly a homeowner thinking he was going to get fined 50 times the original amount.
Well, another piece of information, maybe for clarification, is that if the homeowner they're the contractor in effect, they're putting the roof on, they're putting the fence up, they really need to get the permit. Whoever is doing the constructing, so to speak, needs to get the permit. So that's a lot of times some of these contractors will say, I don't want to mess around with Village Hall and the permits. Mr. Homeowner, you go get it. Well, that's not really how it's supposed to be done, because I need to have a conversation with the contractor to make sure they're aware of any specific Village of Hudson rules, as well as to get like their certificate of liability insurance, etc. So it's really not a normal practice that the homeowner gets the permit on behalf of the contractor, because then there's things that we're not verifying with the contractor. So it's not normally done where the contract or the homeowner is getting all the permits. And but like I said earlier, the work is being done on your property. So the way I've been explained to it is ultimately if the work is done out of compliance, the homeowner is responsible.
To the suggestion of a different fee structure, what this language does is it changes the amount of the building permit fee as opposed to creates an ordinance violation fine. And I understand that may sound like splitting hairs, but it is somewhat substantively meaningful. So because it is changing the amount of the permit fee that's due, so if you're going to get a permit after the work already started, this is what the fee is going to be. It's going to be more according to the schedule. So to distinguish a resident from a contractor would be difficult to say the contractor's 2X or 10X and the homeowner's 2X, because essentially if the contractor's doing work without a permit, we owe more for a fee. If I, the homeowner, come in to pay it because that's what the contractor wants, understanding Denny's prerogative that's not the way it should happen. But if that happens, does that create a workaround? So I guess in other words, I'm trying to say, if this was a fine, we may be able to do it that way, but it's more an escalated fee, and so it would be challenging to have a two-tiered structure. Now, what we could do is change the problem with changing the threshold to say if this is the resident's third offense, I could change the wording to say if it's the permit holder's first defense, or to essentially say if the resident's doing the work, they face the escalated fine. If the contractor's doing the work, they face the escalated fine. That might avoid the situation Joe's concerned about, where you have 3 concurrent violating projects. The other aspect of it, and I understand this may not be palatable at all, but there is always in every legislation a degree of trust and a discretion of those tasked with implementing it. And, in the case, for example, of the 3 fences going concurrently, I don't even know how we'd figure which resident owed the 50 times, owed the 3rd tier escalated fine, because who was number 1, who was number 3, if 3 projects started concurrently, there's no way really to line them up in a particular order. So I respect the concerns, and I want to help you find a solution to them. And I understand this may not be palatable, but I would say that, in every law, Dale could write people speeding tickets all day long for a mile over, but that's part of the discretion of his office is not doing this, and same thing for Denny and his implementation here. So, but I'm open to suggestions and glad to, revisit this, or if you wanted to pull it from this ordinance to get the rest of the fees increased, and I can give you some other ideas. I'm glad to be a part of solutions.
It's the combination of the two for me. It's the the fee, you say it's actually the fee and not penalty. I mean, the fee's going up so much. I mean, if you had some contractor, that wasn't good come in, I mean, you kind of assume the contractor is going to go get the permit and stuff, and maybe he tells you he does, then he doesn't. I mean, so like a $15,000 project, like a deck or something, the fee's going to be what, $130, and he doesn't do what he's supposed to do, and all of a sudden, me, the homeowner, is on the hook for $7,500 or $6,500 in a fee. That's a little scary that could happen. Now, if we're going to say we're not going to go after it, okay, but otherwise, I mean, if you want to do less than 50x2, then maybe it wouldn't be as much concern, right? If I'm going to get a fee of $100, I don't care so much. But we're talking about some really hefty fees here, so we need to make sure something doesn't fall through the cracks.
Okay, in the wording, if you look in the wording of the ordinance, number 1 says, first violation by contractor and by the resident. Number 2 says, second violation by either the contractor or the resident. And number 3 says the same thing with the or. Because the point of the ordinance escalating is because contractors will come in and do 3, 4, 5 projects at different sites and not get a permit or argue about it, blow Denny off, and the residents are sort of, once the first time, the second time they're going to check because they're residents, and I believe most of the residents of Hudson are decent people, whereas the contractor who only will come in for 6 weeks in the summer, if they can get in and get out without a permit, they're basically leaving that resident high and dry as far as permits go. Or that's.
Kathy, can I add something? I'm sorry. Kathy, can I add something? With my building experience and also being around a little bit, I can see a resident violating the policy more than the contractor. Contractor, if he's a valid contractor, knows he needs permits. But how many of us actually know a resident that says, hey, I'm going to fix my basement up on the weekend and I'm not getting a permit? Nobody will see it happen.
That's true, but that's a first time. Because if that's found out, and I'm not saying it is, but if it is, they're going to be getting, a request to get the permit in this. Well, they have to have a violation first. And it will be explained to them then. They have to have a permit. If in doubt, call, or whenever you do anything over $50, call. Do I need a permit for this? Yes or no? End of discussion. Or that's the way I see it. But I'm pretty plain Jane in my view, so.
Can I give you an example here? What if we put in there, the contractor is responsible to get a permit. Now, whether it's the contractor, if you're a homeowner, you're gonna be the contractor, correct?
If you're doing the work, yes.
If you're doing the work, so you're the contractor, so why can't we put in there the contractor is responsible to get permits? And that could pertain to the homeowner, put it like that. And then if a contractor comes in and does work for you, Kathy, that contractor is responsible, and if he gets fined, he's getting fined, not the homeowner.
I think that's a reasonable solution, actually.
Definition.
And define contractor by could be the homeowner, but it's the contractor doing the work. So if you're the contractor as a homeowner, you are the contractor, you're responsible.
Yeah, I think I can make that change here while we're talking, and
Sure.
maybe give me a minute, and then maybe maybe I can screen share and show you what I got, and then we can work through it. So
Okay.
give me a minute. If Dave, you want to, or Kathy has more on hers, if you want to skip this, double back to it, I'll tweak the language for a minute.
Yes, we'll do it. So Kathy, would you like to talk about?
Yeah, the thing I wanted to discuss about Farnsworth is their paperwork is basically dated for us to vote on it tonight. But they're talking about $19,500 to start the initial. I'm assuming everybody read it. If not, the whole discussion is probably moot. But their presentation is basically, they're saying this is what we will do for you. And Mark, I will have, when you get an email, I will be glad to send this to you.
Great.
And like I said, it's basically, this is what we will do, scope of work, their understanding of the project, what their end scope of work will be. But we need to, and before we can start this, we have to have the $19,500, which we do not have at this point that I am aware of. That has not been budgeted. I have, $7,000, $8,000 in TIF budgeted for it, but that means I still need 10 or 12. So we're gonna probably have to postpone this to either the new budget, unless someone else has a better idea.
You could do a supplemental budget appropriation ordinance for available funds which were not budgeted in the original budget appropriation ordinance. It requires the same formalities for adoption as your original budget does, but that is a way to permit the expenditure of funds which weren't originally budgeted.
Okay, I don't know how to do that, so.
I can help you guys with that. It's essentially you go through the same process as your original budget. It's just some different wording in the ordinance, and I'd be glad to help with that if you guys want to go forward with that.
Okay, well, I think that's part of the discussion this evening because that would make a substantial change in our budget. And I'm financially leery at this point because of the lack of security, I guess, because we don't know what's going to be happening in the next couple months. Everything could become roses and sunshine, or it could go to the pot. So I'm asking opinions.
Okay, now I want to make sure that what they're talking about is the first thing on our 5-year plan. Is that correct?
Yes.
Doing the research for the village-wide sewer.
Right. They'll give us analysis of 2 different sewer collection systems, and 2 options of treatment systems. As in, one of them is a traditional sand filter, which I wouldn't go with the secondary filter, and transmission to Bloomington Normal. They will give us options saying, this is what we think would work best for the village. so that we would have some sort of paperwork to present for things such as grants. I will never vote for a bond, so that's off as far as I'm concerned. But, so we have a basis for starting, because it's not going to be done in the next 3 years.
No, but this is the first step, so this is something we want to try and get started with if we can find the money to do it.
Yes.
So we know when we talked to the TIF people, they said they thought we should be able to pay for half of this with TIF money because of all the acreage that we have. So we need to find $9,000 to $10,000 either out of reserves or out of existing expenses that we can appropriate for this, the rest of this study.
Yes.
So how about if, Pat, let me work with Sarah and the department heads and see where we're at with this year's budget. And, maybe we can transfer money if we scrimp on some of the categories we've got. We might be able to come up with some of the money for that. And if not, we'll see what we've got in unallocated reserves that we might be able to use for this. And either way, we'll have to work with Pat to get the ordinance or whatever passed for the supplemental, the change to the budget. I'm sure I didn't word that real eloquently, but
I understood.
Let us do some research on it. So if the board is good with that, that will be our goal for tonight, is to find the money to start implementing the 5-year plan, do the study for the sewer. I have been looking at grants on the information I get, and so far I haven't found anything that's applicable for this type of study, this type of research, but I will continue to look.
Okay. Like I said, I think the study would be it's a good first step, because at least this way we'll have a recommendation as to what would actually work for the village.
Yeah, it's got to be the first step. Go ahead, Joe.
Does it say they'll give us prices too, or is it just recommendations?
I think it's just recommendations. There'll be multiple workshops. They will contact the EPA for us see what pit permits are required. And
I thought there was pricing included with that.
Let me review it. The analysis of the 2 aerial plans, communications, option for probable costs for each of the options.
Oh, cool. Okay. That should be it then, I would think.
Project timeline, so that we would have an idea of actually how long this would take, depending on recommendations.
Yeah, it seems like it would be really good to have this in case some federal money program shows up or something. We have this already ready.
Yeah, because it's going to be substantial, should I say, more than I know.
Okay, so does the board agree that, we can start looking for money to finance this? I want to get the final word from the TIF group that, we can spend half of the report would come from TIF money, and work with Sarah and Pat and try and figure out where we're going to come up with the rest of the money for this. So if the board agrees with that's what we'll do for tonight. And hopefully by next meeting, we'll know where we stand. We'll know where the money's going to come from.
Now, if we can lay our hands on it, because like I said, that's a chunk of change. Yeah, but I think it's important for the village.
One just food for thought you may want to ask them. I've had another community pay them for a similar report. And at least that community, they did a analysis of a gravity flow system versus a force main system with grinders in people's homes. And they came to the conclusion that you couldn't economically do a gravity flow system as compared to a grinder and force main system because of all the infrastructure that would be required and open cuts and everything for a gravity flow system. And I believe that is a relatively inescapable conclusion for any conversion from a modern conversion from an unsewered to a sewered community. And if those are the comparables that they're going to look at for you, you may just want to ask another, get another idea from an engineering firm or two. I guess I'm thinking, I think this report they prepared before for others, and it may not make sense to pay them, $20,000 to tell you that a solution that they probably know at the outset isn't going to work for you. And again, I could be wrong. I'm not an engineer. I don't profess to be, but when I've seen similar reports, they've said not based on particulars of another community, but basically, putting sewers in small towns, it's hard to do it as economically in gravity flow versus putting these grinders in each home and having force mains. So you may want to ask if they know at the outset what of the two options for distribution or collection they're intending.
Well, actually, those are the two they listed.
Okay.
For analysis.
Yeah.
Traditional gravity sewer collection and low pressure grinder sewer collection.
Yeah.
There's another alternative, and that's the thing. Is there another alternative?
Well, I think those are the two primary. I guess my thought is that the conclusion between those two options, I would be immensely surprised. And now, if you do this report, I may end up with egg on my face in a year. But from the other reports I've seen them do for at least one other community I represent, I would be shocked if they said anything other than the low pressure system. And I guess that may be an inescapable conclusion, and you may be paying them to recycle work they've done before to justify why that's an inescapable conclusion when that's not productive money spent, if that makes sense. So.
Okay, like I said, I don't know enough about it to ask questions in that area.
Sure. And I guess maybe if I have the ability to, I'm not sure I have a copy of a report from another community they did that I'd be able to pass along. But if I do, I'll pass it along just so before you spend the money, you could look at what I think are general observations that aren't specific to an individual community, but rather systemic problems with making a gravity flow system work in a community-wide retrofit that may allow you to condense the scope of their report and say, if you were to assume we're going to go the gravity flow or the low pressure system, what would you recommend for treatment? And so I don't know.
I'm perfectly willing to read that.
And I'm just all for trying to help you guys save $1 here or there, and so I'll see what I can do there.
Okay. I appreciate your comments because we don't want to pay $20,000 for a report that they did for Downs and just have them change the name from Downs to Hudson. So Kathy, let's you and I talk about it, Kathy, and look back through their report, and maybe we'll invite them to the next meeting to find out what's going to be unique about their report for Hudson.
Okay, well, I need to read if Pat can send that, I need to read that first so I have pardon the expression, but a leg to stand on when I ask questions. Because, like I said, ask me about a tertiary filter, I could probably tell you all kinds of stuff. But gravity flow versus grinder,
I think and maybe another way to word Pat's question is, how many communities have you converted over the last 20 years? And what did they end up doing? What did each one, if every one of them did this grinder pump thing, if they've done 10 communities over the last 20 years and every one of them did this grinder pump thing, then the gravity flow is probably useless. So you could just ask what they've done in the past, I think.
I think that's an excellent question. Say that again so I can write it down.
Ask them how many communities they've converted in the past, and what did all those communities choose, and see if they all chose the same thing.
Okay.
Kathy, will you also see if we can get a sample of a report they've done for another community? Because if they won't give it to you, I'll go to the mayors for some of these towns and get one.
Okay.
Then we'll know what's in the report and what might be unique for Hudson. I mean, we do have to start with a study, I'm sure of that, but we don't want to pay $20,000 for a cookie cutter report. So
Yeah, and like I said, I already know, I don't know and don't ask questions as to how many different varieties is there of sewer systems. Because to me, I see the picture from the EPA. Yeah, it goes away, it goes into a pipe, it goes to a processing plant.
okay, Richard, I saw a note pop up from you, but I think I missed it. Did you have a comment, Richard?
Yeah, I did have, I was just wondering if the, I guess since Kathy's running with it, if maybe her subcommittee maybe needs to get together and just do a little research on this as a group and then bring that to the board where you've got multiple individuals can help run this down so it's not all on Kathy. I think that's, at least when I was on the board, that's kind of what we did with our subcommittees under each one of the trustees was there was a topic in your area, then that group would get together and have some discussion, and it helps get more people engaged, I guess, and spreads the work out and gets more opinions, more knowledge potentially on that. Just a thought. I mean, that's just came to mind.
I don't have a problem with that. But I will copy you this preliminary. Does it, Dave, do you have a problem with Richard assisting in this matter?
Oh, no, I'm looking grateful for the help. Richard, I will gladly work with your subcommittee too on this, because there may be some other mayors I can get reports from and things like that, so.
Well, my take was on that each board, each trustee has a group of trustees under them that creates a subcommittee for that trustee position. And I think that's kind of usually a good place to start when you've got a big chunk of work to dig into. I know when I was in Kathy's role, that there was a lot of times that we had that little group get together and talk through certain things before we brought it to the board, and it was a good sounding board to talk through stuff.
And I don't have the list. We still have that format, Richard.
We do? Okay. I wasn't sure.
Phil, you're on my committee.
Sorry, Phil.
Who else is on it?
Don Gibson.
Okay, so whoever takes over for Don's spot will likely be on it with you, but I also want to work with you on it. So if we have a meeting with Kathy and two other trustees, that would be a quorum, wouldn't it, Pat McGrath?
Yep.
So we would need to have minutes.
And even on a committee level, if you have a committee meeting, a quorum of your committee constitutes a meeting, a majority of a quorum of the committee. So if it's a committee of 3, even 2 members of that committee getting together requires agenda, minutes, public posting.
Okay. So Kathy, you'll need to set that up, and let's have a initial meeting. And we need to make sure everybody reviews the study before we get started with that. Now, Richard's committee can be invited to that. Anybody can attend that, correct, Pat? Their open meeting?
Right. Yep, that's an open public meeting.
So, all right, do we want to have Farnsworth at that meeting? Just get our own ducks in a row first.
Yes, get our ducks in a row first.
Okay. So we need a Sewers 101 meeting.
Yeah, basically.
Sarah, I will work with you on the budget, on the money, trying to find some of that. And Pat, I may have some questions for you as we go along here too.
Sure.
So,
I did, if we can jump back, I sent in the group chat revised language for the work without a permit. And in case anybody doesn't know how to work that, if you don't mind me going to this, Dave, it provides, the revised language says, no resident or contractor shall begin work without a permit. In the event work begins without a permit, the individual or entity who begins work, whether it be the resident or the contractor, shall be liable to the Village of Hudson for the increased permit fee set forth below. And then I have in the same fee structure applies, but it now just says, in the event of violation, this paragraph is the first violation, building permit fee shall be 2 times the amount prescribed under this code. And then number 2 is still that 10 times, and then the 50 times for 3. So I've just made the distinction based on who's doing the work and not resident and contractor.
Yeah, that sounds much better to me. It keeps innocent people from getting the fee, hopefully.
Yeah, we don't want to screw people over. We just want them to get a permit. And some people are stubborn.
if anybody wants,
That's also at our discretion.
if anybody, if you click on the chat button at the bottom of your screen, that text should pop up and you should be able to read it. Joe, that looks really good, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's makes me much happier.
From your side?
I'm sorry?
Danny, do you think that'll work from your side?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Pat, help me out here. Isn't that always also at our discretion?
In any ordinance enforcement, there's an element of discretion and administration. So you're not, if it was a earnest mistake, you're entitled to give somebody a warning or work with them for compliance. It's not an absolute, rigid and inflexible mandate.
Okay, yeah, because the point is to get people to get a permit. Yeah. It's the people that just absolutely refuse with knowledge to follow the rules.
My personal take on it has always been education of compliance, not education through penalty. So that's the way I personally have handled it in the past. But there is, for lack of a more professional word, problem children out there that don't like to follow the rules.
Well, now you have a stick that's 50 times bigger you can hit them with, I guess.
That'll get their attention.
Yeah, well, like I said, as far as the residents per se, I think if one time, and usually the first time it's just, come on, you got to get a permit, come uptown, pay the permit fee. But in the future, you have to have a permit. And these are generally speaking, the ones you have to have a permit for. Most residents are going to go with that. But you always, pardon my language, you always get the deck that just will push and push and push and push. That's my opinion.
I have corrected it in my copy of the ordinance and have circulated by email an updated one to you guys. So, in my opinion, there's been adequate, coverage of the amendment, and you could, if you were so inclined, approve the ordinance as amended based on the revision set forth in the group chat.
All right, Kathy, are you ready to make that a motion?
I would like to make a motion for the ordinance amending the building code information with the noted amendments. since they're not on the paperwork people are currently looking at.
No, but we know what the changes are, so.
Right, the ones that are
Right.
the current amendment.
Okay. Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second it.
All right, any discussion or questions on this? If not, Allison, roll call.
Joe Boyd,
Yes.
Kathy Brooks,
Yes.
Jim Campbell,
Yes.
Bill Morris,
Yes.
Mark Cotty.
Yes.
All right, so we have that ordinance that passed. That ordinance would be, what number, Allison?
1347.
Okay, so there are multiple versions going around, Allison, so,
I will send out a copy that says ordinance 1347 to everyone, including Allison and Sarah. Just cause.
we get the right. 'Cause- Okay,
Also, something that wasn't on my agenda, but I would like to bring up since you brought up the meeting schedule for the board. I would also like for everybody to consider we need to extend the planning commission's meetings. Currently, they're alternate months. The first Monday not the Monday before the board meeting, but the week before that Monday, excluding holidays, of course, for next year also, to include them in the meeting's resolution.
okay, we do not
I
have,
said that weird, but do you understand what I mean?
not at all, but we do not have a active resolution going for meetings for next year yet. So-
Right. I just
so
wanted to,
when we set that up, you want the planning commission meetings included?
yes,
Okay,
yes.
yeah, we can do that.
Okay, that, like I said, I didn't have it on my agenda, but I wanted to bring it up since you brought up the meeting. Also, the Casey's curbside beer sales request, did I miss something there?
I was gonna discuss it under the liquor commission stuff.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I should have mentioned it, but I didn't, so.
I give up the floor.
Okay, are you satisfied with where we're at with the Farnsworth topic and that study? As far as
Yeah.
what we're gonna do on that?
Yes, I think we have a plan of meeting schedule. I actually don't expect to be able to vote on it in October, but we may not, October, November should be sufficient. You know, if everything comes together.
Okay. Okay, so we're good to go with that. And just a clarification, things do not have to be on the agenda to be discussed. They have to be on the agenda to be voted on, but something that's not on the agenda can still be discussed if it needs to be discussed.
Okay. I like to have things on the agenda if I want to discuss them. That way everybody has an idea.
Try and do it, but if something comes up at the last minute, we need to discuss it, we can.
Okay.
Okay, our next report is on the police department. Dale, do you have anything else to add?
No, actually, the report for the month isn't done. It'll be done tomorrow. I had a busy day, and actually, Sunday was the last day of the month, so we'll get her done tomorrow and be out to everybody. Get everybody copied. No, that's it.
Okay. Next trustee is the water department. Joe, you have anything for us?
I just report that our 442,000 gallon friend missed a payment, I guess, so I will track him down and see what his story is. And he's made 3 payments of 500 and he owes us 2 more payments of 500. And, I'll get a hold of him somehow and see what his story is, see if he's got a sob story or what he plans to do for payment and let you know.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Just get us up to speed then in the next meeting. Or if you have trouble, let me know.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, public property, Jim Campbell, have you got anything?
No, nothing at all.
Okay. Okay, liquor commissioner is me, and I wanted to bring up the Casey's beer curbside request. I brought it up to the last meeting. We have a request from Casey's for them to basically sell beer or liquor to people out at their curb, people in the cars at the front of Casey's store. And I talked to Dale about it, and Dale didn't see any problems with it. I brought it up at the last meeting, asked everybody to think about it. Do any of the trustees have a problem with it? If you do, let me know by this meeting or by tomorrow. And if I don't hear anything from you by tomorrow, I will let Casey's know that we will not have a problem with them doing that. Of course, if Casey's can do it, then the other establishments in town that also sell alcohol can also do it. So it would not be something unique to Casey's.
We would need to get an ordinance prepared, kind of regulating that. And I think there are probably some existing prohibitions we need to modify. So it'd be something we could queue up for next meeting, but they wouldn't be able to really do until we got a good ordinance in place on the topic.
Okay.
Yeah, again, I would like that too, but curbside and Casey's would be on their property, where the other liquor establishments don't have anything on their property delivered.
That's a good point.
So I don't know.
I'm real leery of that.
Why is that, Kathy?
I said I'm real leery of having curbside beer sales. For anybody.
Well, and then I talked to the manager, and he really didn't know what they were asking either. They didn't go through him at all. So I'm not sure what the intent is. You know, come out on roller skates and put it on the side of your car. I don't know.
Yeah, there is no intent here. They're just trying to get a feeler out. And so I just want to give them an answer. Kathy, I know you're leery, and my gut reaction was, you know, people should be able to go inside the store.
Yeah.
And then my second thought was, okay, when Walmart or Kroger's does curbside delivery for their groceries, does that include beer? And I'm sure it does.
Some do.
Some do. And so I don't know that it's really any different than what's going on now from some of the bigger stores. And so I'm not saying that I'm terribly comfortable with it, but I'm trying to be supportive of Casey's. They've been a good neighbor for us.
Yes.
So,
one of my concerns is under the dram shop laws, the person selling the alcohol is responsible. If the individual is intoxicated, they're not going to sell him alcohol. If you go out to the curb, you know, you may have somebody walk out and you're not going to get a real feel who you're selling to. Just a thought. Again, I don't know their intent other than curbside. So I don't know what they really mean by that.
Yeah, I would guess, you know, from what it says, and it's pretty vague, but it just says, you know, I would assume I could drive up and call them and say, hey, I want, you know, a case of beer brought out to my car. And then when they bring it out, they would have to check my ID and everything, and we do the payment out there. It doesn't get into that side of it, so.
Yeah, just questions I would have.
Like I said, I just have a really bad feeling about that, because I remember when I was 21 and bad.
I don't want to know anymore, Kathy.
I wasn't gonna tell you.
All right, but legally, the same thing could happen. You could go in the tavern and buy it, you know, and I understand that. So, okay, so we do have some concerns about it, and I can go either way with it. So, if anybody is concerned, Kathy's concerned, so Why don't we just sit on it and I'll tell them no at this time. And then if they want to press it later on, or if we see other communities doing it, then we can bring it back up at that point in time. I want to let them know one way or the other. So I will tell them, not at this time. If we see it work in other communities, we'd be open to bring it back up at a later point in time. So I'll go that way with it. Okay, that's the last topic I had under Liquor Commission. That is the end of our agenda. We have no reason to move into closed session. So does anybody else have anything they want to discuss for our meeting tonight?
No, I'm done.
Okay, Mark, I really want to thank you for stepping up here and helping us out and filling in. We all look forward to working with you. Pat, thanks for joining us tonight and providing the insight. And with your help, we will get this ordinance passed after a couple shots. So I'm glad you were able to join us again tonight. So.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And thanks for the opportunity, Dave. I look forward to working with everyone again.
Well, good. Thank you. All right. If no one else has any additional business, we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Allison, roll call.
Joe Boyd,
Yes.
Kathy Brooks,
Yes.
Jim Campbell,
Yes.
Bill Morris,
Yes.
Mark Cotty.
Yes.
All right, and thank everybody. Anybody out in the audience that's still with us, thanks for listening tonight. And we hope it was informative for you. And to the trustees and employees, thanks everybody, and stay safe. Good night.
Hi.
Thanks.